So let's just dive right into this massive shift in Vietnam's real estate market. I mean, they've literally rewritten the entire rulebook for international investors and expats. If you've been eyeing property in Vietnam, or maybe you already own some assets there, the landscape you thought you knew, it's radically changed. Consider this explainer your direct, no-nonsense map to understanding the new rules of the game.
It's kind of like a giant puzzle, and the entire legal foundation rests on these three backbone laws that finally synchronized in late 2024 to completely reshape the playing field. Specifically, as of August 1st, 2024, the housing law, the real estate business law, and the land law all locked into place, right alongside crucial guidelines like Decrees 95 and 96. Basically, what this means for you is that the old loopholes and those murky gray areas, they are officially closed.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover Section 1, the new legal landscape. Section 2, who can buy what? Section 3, strict new ownership limits. Section 4, following the money trail. And finally, Section 5, navigating property contracts safely. Kicking things off with Section 1, the new legal landscape, closing the gray areas and securing the market. To really wrap our heads around these new rules, we first have to understand the government's motive. Why the sudden change? Well, the crucial point is that Vietnam absolutely wants foreign capital, but they want it strictly regulated and highly transparent. They are actively trying to unlock foreign direct investment and remittances from overseas Vietnamese, sure, but at the exact same time, they are cracking down hard on speculation and shady cash transactions to protect national security. It's a really delicate balancing act, welcoming money while aggressively controlling exactly how it enters the country. So before you even think about investing, you have to know exactly which legal bucket you fall into, because your identity dictates the whole shebang. The new laws introduce what we can call the identity shift. Previously, things were a bit muddled, but now there is a stark line. If you are a Viet Kieu, an overseas Vietnamese, who still holds Vietnamese citizenship, you are essentially treated with the exact same rights as a local citizen. But if you're a Viet Kieu who renounced your citizenship, or if you're a completely foreign individual, your rights are vastly different. Moving right along to Section 2, who can buy what? Mapping demographics to property types. Take a look at the contrast here. It's pretty wild. If you're a foreign individual, your commercial housing ownership, like a condo, is capped at a maximum of 50 years, though thankfully it is extendable. You also get absolutely zero direct land use rights. But look at the Viet Kieu with citizenship, long-term, stable ownership, and full land rights, just like someone born and raised in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City. And here is a real game changer, the big ban. Foreigners are officially, definitively prohibited from buying and owning condotels, officetels, and tourist villas. This brutally closes a massive previous legal gray area where developers were selling hotel apartments to foreigners using, frankly, sketchy long-term lease agreements that lacked any real ownership rights. Under the new law, that is strictly off limits. I mean, you can rent them, sure, but you absolutely cannot legally own them. Which brings us to Section 3, strict new ownership limits, capping the foreign quotas. Okay, so even if you find a perfectly legal commercial condo, you're not out of the woods yet. Foreign ownership is locked at a strict maximum of 30% per individual apartment building. The government is actively trying to prevent the formation of isolated foreign enclaves. If a building hits that 30% threshold, the local Department of Construction literally locks the system down. Developers have to report their sales constantly to make sure this quota is never breached. If you happen to buy from a developer who has already exceeded this, your contract won't even be recognized. And it's a similar story for standalone houses. To prevent those same foreign enclaves, no more than 250 individual houses per ward can be owned by non-citizens. Now, to put that into perspective, the law standardizes a ward as representing a population of roughly 10,000 people. So across an entire neighborhood of that size, only 250 separate homes, like villas or townhouses, can be foreign-owned. You absolutely need to ensure the specific project you're buying into is on the government's publicly approved list for foreign ownership. Let's dive into Section 4, following the money trail. Trust me, this is the end of cash and credit cards. This right here, this is where so many foreign investors accidentally break the law. If you try to hand over a suitcase of cash to a developer, or you just try swiping an international credit card, your transaction is flat out illegal, period. You will not get a property certificate. The only legal path is a direct bank transfer using Vietnamese dong initiated from an account you have personally opened at a licensed bank right there in Vietnam. Because of that, you've absolutely got to follow this mandatory 3-step banking sequence. It is literally the only legal way the government will track and approve your real estate funds. Step 1, you wire your foreign currency into a Vietnamese account. Step 2, you convert it to dong and wire it directly to the developer. And step 3, this one is vital for your exit strategy. When you eventually sell, you can only repatriate your money out of Vietnam if you use that exact same banking system and prove you've paid all your local taxes.
Now, to protect you from shady developers, the law now rigidly caps your upfront risk. It completely bans developers from taking 30 to 50% before the foundations are even laid. Now, a deposit can legally be no more than 5%. The first installment tops out at 30%. And before they actually hand you the keys to your new home, a local developer can only collect up to 70% of the total price, while a foreign invested developer is strictly capped at 50%. And I love this part, the final 5% rule. You never pay the final 5% until the state officially hands you your ownership certificate, legally known as the Pink Book. This is a massive layer of protection for you as an investor because it essentially forces developers to actually finish the bureaucratic paperwork before they get fully paid.
Finally, we have Section 5, Navigating Property Contracts Safely, Bureaucracy and Contract Transfers. Knowing how to safely handle the actual paperwork is absolutely crucial, especially if you decide to sell your future housing contract before the project is even finished. When transferring a contract, you must pay a 2% tax on the transfer price at the local tax branch. This is an unavoidable personal income tax. You can't just casually flip a contract to someone else in private. The whole transaction must go through a notary, and the local tax authorities will definitely take their 2% cut. Now for a slightly wild administrative hurdle. You literally have to produce exactly 8 original copies of the transfer document to satisfy all the bureaucratic layers. 8. 2 go to the developer to track the ownership change, 1 goes to the tax office, 1 goes to the land registry, and the buyer and seller each get 2 original copies to protect their rights. It sounds super tedious, I know, but missing even 1 single copy will completely stall your entire transfer. When you're setting up this paperwork, your passport is kind of your golden ticket, but it's absolutely vital to have your entry stamp. Thankfully, your passport doesn't require complex consular legalization, just local translation. However, and this is big, you absolutely must sign a written commitment waiving your diplomatic immunity. Basically, you're agreeing to be fully bound by Vietnamese civil and criminal law in case of a dispute. The state is just making sure no foreign investor can use international legal loopholes to escape domestic rules. Okay, here is a massive trap you need to avoid. Be extremely careful who you buy from, because purchasing a contract from a local citizen is invalid under the foreign ownership quota rules. You can only buy directly from the project developer, or you can buy a contract from another foreign individual or entity that already legally holds the asset. If a local Vietnamese citizen tries to sell you their contract directly, the notary and the developer will block the transaction immediately. So this explainer has given you the legal map, but with gray areas totally erased and strict quotas firmly in place, the margin for error is basically zero. The ultimate question you have to ask yourself right now is, knowing all these strict new rules, is your real estate strategy actually airtight, or are you accidentally building your entire portfolio on illegal ground? Audit your strategy today. Thanks for learning with us, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.